that is sorely lacking in gaming. And so I would say that like the best kind of project, the best approach, the way I see this, the stuff I'm excited to get behind is the stuff where it could just be a game. You know, it um, doesn't have to be. You don't have to assimilate all this other information to enjoy the game part of it. And I think these are the people that start off with something really fun, or just focus on building the fun part. Most of the focus goes into the fun, and then obviously there needs to be a sound tech stack for everything else. But um, it's just something that like when I look at games and I see games where you're like you got to buy this NFT and then you got to get all these NFTs and then you've got to do this thing and then you connect your land here and you can and I'm like, yeah, for the current NFT crowd this is cool. This is all the techie stuff that we want. We'll plug things into each other and feel like we're breeding this and spawning that, and we've got DNA. Like the average Joe, this is a lot. It's like a college education worth of onboarding that we're talking about for them, that they don't even want to hear about right now. Like they don't, it's not interesting to them. So people are like, oh, you can buy this land, then you can mine this NFT to generate that, and it's a lot, man. I think we need to kind of find a middle ground. And I think the thing that I'm excited by is more and more projects that are, I obviously, like I said, I work in Web two, and it's funny because everyone thinks that Web two gaming companies are scared of blockchain and they don't want to come here, and it's so wrong. Like they are 100% down. They wish they could, but they're tied to the court of public opinion when it comes to like their communities. Their communities are scared, and people have not fully understood it yet. And so there will be a time where one of these games doesn't make it a big deal that there's some blockchain element, but people kind of get it at that point, and I think it's going to be really exciting. There's already games that allow you to sell actual items to each other, like Escape from Tarkov. I think allows you to trade um, assets and stuff, and I think as time goes on, we're going to see a slow fade towards kind of like what we're getting ready for. So yeah, I mean, it's a spectrum, and I think my biggest problem with blockchain gaming right now is that it's blockchain and then gaming in brackets, right? It's like a tiny little part of it that is gamified, and we're missing like the fun. The thing I love about NFT projects is the fun of it. I like I like finding out about projects that have some kind of gamification. I think YOLO Sol is an example. They're not a game, but they're a hella fun project, and they're a cool team, and they've thought of how to make the process more fun. Or an example, I see Jay Peoples in the crowd. Occult Archives. They just found ways to make minting fun. So the concept was that you were gonna like, you were taking photos of these vampires or these things, because the government, the centralized government was not allowing you to share these things, but you were using the blockchain. So when you minted a vampire, you kind of you got a vampire and you were sharing it. So they added story, they added gamification, even though it wasn't a game. They added fun. It's like a recipe that people forget, I think. Um, and then they did another thing which was quite fun. Sorry, I'm shouting them out now, but they're not even a gaming project right now. I say right now because who knows what people plan. But another thing they did, which was quite fun, that was a good use of blockchain and NFT stuff, is they minted 100 coffins. Right, they had this limited edition. If you had any of the other NFTs, you could mint a coffin, and then on a certain date, the coffin would open, and you would get something from this 3D collection. And that's an example. I mean, obviously, yeah, that's very blockchain, but it's what you remember about it is not the minting or the technical side. All you remember is the fun of it. It's like someone thought about a concept that was fun. And that was probably you guys, working with Billy and Jay to come up with that, because I know they partner quite closely with you, and you guys helped them a lot. And I think that was really cool. I think that putting fun back into projects, putting fun into gaming projects, which is ironic that you have to even say that. It's weird that you have to say put the fun back in the project, but you ask around on the blockchain, and a lot of these projects feel like jobs, like the established play to earn projects. Like if you ask someone honestly, do you get fun out of that game? Nah, but I get money. I'm like, well, wouldn't it be great if you could get fun and then also money? Like, it's entertainment. We pay for entertainment. Here's the opportunity to get paid while entertained. Let's make it entertaining, right? It's just weird, man. So I think like I was in a space earlier today, and a lot of projects were sharing their stuff, and they were talking about all their stuff. And there was one or two of them that were really fun. A lot of them were really like tech stack, like with a cute picture in front of it. And some of that adds value, and some of it is just like a stretch for when people are talking about mass adoption. I'm like, that's so far from what people will adopt because it's so complicated. But yeah, I know you guys are doing a nice simple system, which simplicity is king for me, where you can grab an NFT, and grabbing the NFT is simply like grabbing the disk that you install the game on. And so if you have the disc, you can play the game, and if you give me the disc, I can play the game, and like that makes so much sense. Only in this sense, the disc doesn't get old and break, like so I know that that's something that you guys are working on Endmaker, and I think that's really cool because that's owning the game as a whole, which is really exciting, and trading games, playing a game for a while and then passing it on, and I think that's really really fun. Maybe you guys can talk a little bit about what you guys are building on that side, and who's a part of it, because I know obviously Ada Ninjas are definitely in there, but I'm keen to hear who else is dipping their toes into the launchpad, the gaming launchpad.
Yeah, I can't talk too much on the gaming side. I know Peter, he's the one behind that, the game launchpad side. And Patrick was speaking about it a little bit in the last space. But yeah, that's like one of the major things we're working on next is Endmaker Games. And you guys will see more development on that soon. But a little bit more on the topic of gaming, I definitely think kind of how we're doing it now, the decentralized gaming is definitely going to be more niche for people who are more tech savvy, of course, and who guess are more interested in owning their games, who've probably been in the gaming industry a lot longer, or usually people who go on Steam. I guess the Steam community would definitely be more interested in this. And that's kind of how I see our projects would be indie games, right? So similar to the projects you see on Steam. But I definitely think that for the majority of gamers, people who are console gamers, they're gonna definitely want to stick to the centralized systems, and I definitely do think it's gonna be majority of it's gonna be centralized, where they'll play a game, they'll play just like any old game, like Call of Duty, as we've seen them already try to do NFTs, and like they got kind of like backlash from it. I don't know if you guys heard about that. Um, but it'll play a game, and then they'll have an option later on to like to check out how do I to mint their NFT at the very end. Like they'll have collectibles, right? Okay, you earned all your collectibles, and all these collectibles are attached to an NFT that exists somewhere, right, in their database or something like that. And then that way, at the very end, they only do a transaction very limited, right? So as opposed to like doing many multiple transactions on a blockchain, which is not exactly scalable, and that way they don't have to pay fees every single time, So I think that's probably the route that's going to go. And then they could sell their NFTs on a marketplace outside the game. But I think they're definitely going to want to incentivize the selling within their own marketplace, because I'm sure they're going to want to keep as much money as possible. I'm not exactly sure how they're going to do that, but maybe they will. I'm sure they'll figure it out. What do you guys think?
Yeah, man. And you mentioned owning an asset and then minting it to a point. I think that's exactly the model that we're going with as well. We're going with a choose to mint system. So basically, to reduce barrier to entry, anyone can play our game, just like they would any other trading card game. You download Hearthstone, you sign up with your account. At that point, you're not with Hearthstone. You don't have a wallet, so that's fine. You just hop in, you play, you do the tutorial, you do a few games, you earn a few more Hearthstone cards, you get a deck, you carry on going. At no point in time are you having to put anything on chain in that game. But when you want to leave that game, you have to leave it all behind, right? With us, everything is the same up to that if you want to leave point, or if you want to sell, or if you want to trade. Because in our game, you can do all of that stuff and play it exactly like a Web 2 game, all the way through. No fancy forcing someone onto an on-chain interaction. And while that doesn't tickle the taste buds of everyone who's a blockchain fanatic right now, that really does open up the doors to mass adoption. It opens up the doors to Web 2 user acquisition. Hey, look at this card game. It's fun. You can play it. What do I need to do? Download it and play it. Right? It's super, super simple. The message has to be really, really simple, really intuitive. If you put any barrier to entry in the beginning, people just won't do it. Well, the vast majority of people won't do it. So we create this simple and awesome game where the game comes first and the game is fun. And after a while, you've got a bunch of cards. Now, these cards are server-side cards. They're just items in your game. Like every other game you play, you get, inventory items or cards. But now at this point, someone says, "Hey, wait, can I get that card from you?" And in a Web 2 game, it would be like, well, is there a trade system in the game? Probably not, because the game creator wants you to buy content from them. They don't really want you to purchase content from each other. That's undercutting them. But in Web 3 and what we're doing, you can at that point say, all right, cool, I'm going to log into my account. I'm going to select all these assets I want to mint. I'm going to quickly mint them. Great, now I've got all these assets. I paid the minting fees for them. It was minimal because I did them all at once. And now they're on chain. So now instead of them being server-side items, they are replicated items that are read from your wallet. So if you want to trade or if you want to sell, at that point you have to interact with the blockchain. But you have a really good, you have a really good pressure point there to press on. At the point in time when you're asking someone to take action by creating a wallet or by minting, it's the point in time when they are already invested in the game. They already like what they're doing. They already are enjoying themselves, and they already know now that this is a benefit. So imagine I play a card game against you, Victor, and at the end of the game, you decimate me with a really good hero card. And at the end of the game, I hop into chat and I'm like, man, that's awesome. Do you have any more of those? I'd love to buy one from you. And it just so happens you have 3 and you only need 2. And you go, yeah, sure. What do you mean you want one from me? Like, let's say you're a Web2 gamer. And I say, all right, well, all you got to do is mint it, and then I'll buy it from you. And you're like, wait, hold on. What do you mean you'll buy it from me? And suddenly you start realizing, oh, wow, I actually own this thing, unlike every other game that I've played. And I have the freedom to sell it or do whatever I want with it. And that at that point, all those cards that you earn in games where you aren't using them, just throw them up on JPEG Store or for instance, the Endmaker marketplace, which will probably be up by then, or whatever, and you get that thing out there, and it sells. And people ask, how do you expect to make money if your market can trade with each other? And I love that question because I feel like they've stumped you, right? It's the reason why in Web2 no one does that. No one allows people to sell content because the Web2 content creator, like the game dev company, they want to have all the money. So why would they let you trade, right? But as you know, we have a royalty system, which is really neat, that can follow that asset around no matter where it goes. As long as that marketplace honors that system, the royalty will be paid automatically to the original creator. And so that solves a lot of problems for us. That allows us to have a fair system where people can trade with things that they own, and we still kind of can benefit from that. And it also protects game balance, which is a huge conversation in gaming. One of the number one reasons why people leave a game is they get disillusioned with the devs. They realize that things have been switched around too many times. The devs don't know what they're doing, or the devs are prioritizing making money. And the way they do that is basically like, if I got to sell more cards next season, I got to make next season's cards better than this season. And then I got to do it again the season after that, and the season after that, and on and on and on we go. Until eventually the cards you bought 3 seasons ago, 4 seasons ago, are useless, basically, because they've just been underpowered and left behind in the meta. And so that's business, right? That's part of the business model. In order to keep selling stuff, the stuff has to be better than the stuff you already have, or you won't need it. But in Web3 with the royalty system, you're incentivized financially to protect the value and the efficacy of old cards. So old cards, original cards, they're there and they need to be doing well so that you can still earn with them as the creator. If we leave their value behind, no one will trade them. If no one trades them, there's a vast volume of cards not generating any revenue for the game creator. So there's this really good incentive for maintaining game balance. It's like 2 birds with 1 stone. And we have a very simple model, but all of these things just play so well together to make this thing work. And it's just one of those things that I'm trying to I've hopped into some Web2 gaming spaces where game creators are building things in Web2. Now, right now, our name still says that we're an NFT game. And so as soon as we come up to speak, people are like, whoa, NFTs are a scam, and I love to just kind of listen to them for a while, just listen to what they say, and then eventually just respond with a question, kind of like, the simple thing that we would all say is, so when I want to leave your game, what happens? That, and I love it because they've obviously got a lot of people listening, and they're kind of very defensive over their Web2 game, and they're quick to call out Web3. But when you ask some simple questions about that, and you stimulate some thought, whether or not they can be won over, you notice the follower base, like they usually listen and they hear like a good point, and we come out of those spaces with a lot of followers because they're just interesting. We've caught people's attention. We managed to give them a light bulb moment, and so that's something that I'm excited by. I mean, obviously, I'm doing a lot of talking, and I apologize, but you switched me on when you said, minting at a certain point, having a server-side item and minting it when you feel like it. I think that's such a good idea, and I it's not an idea that's just ours. I hope that more games do that because it creates accessibility to the space, and something that a lot of people will benefit from, because if it's easier to get in here, we all act as a bridge. User acquisition and getting people into this community will be a lot easier. I'm just reading a question that came in on the Discord, but in the meantime, if anyone wants to respond to that pure monologue that I just gave, I apologize. But yeah, I've got Eternity Elite Elysium. That's a lot of E's. Asking a question around the cost of minting cards. Yeah, so for us, when you're in the choose to mint system, we're going to put a very low cost, if not just the UTXO of minting a card. So we're going to try to keep that as low as possible, because at that point you kind of already own that card in server. So it's just really the cost of putting it on chain. So that should, once again, lower barrier to entry. Much better for us, much better for the players. Everybody wins. Yeah, Victor, have I talked you to sleep, man?
No, I'm listening. I'm actually I'm looking through a thread, a bunch of games that people put down. I'm looking at Drunken Dragons right now. I don't know if anybody's played the alpha yet. Have you played it?
I haven't played it, but I joined them on a live broadcast from CNFT News, one of the guys from Drunken Dragons, and they are cool, man. All I remember is dwarves and beer, and they had me. I was sold.
Yeah, I've seen the video, and I've been kind of not following closely, but I've been aware of it. It kind of reminds me of a project on there's this blockchain and where they have DeFi inside the game. You remember what it's called? It's give me 1 second. It's a Harmony game. You know what I'm talking about? There's a game on Harmony where there's DeFi inside the. So basically, you play the game, and then there's like an area where you can click on it, and then there's a whole DeFi website that you can connect to within the game.
That sounds super interesting. I'm kind of hoping that you will remember the name so I can check it out.
Yeah, it's probably the biggest thing on Harmony. Let me look it up.
I'm seeing oh, okay. I'm happy. Someone's happy with the answer. Eternity Elite Elysium, the triple E in the server.
DeFi Kingdoms.
Oh yeah, no, we know about DeFi. In fact, I've got friends that were deep in DeFi Kingdoms, and not super stoked with it after some stuff happened with the token or the coin.
Yeah.
I think they had to like almost abandon the coin, and some people had had put in a lot of invested a lot. And that comes back to where I'm a little iffy on like play to earn, because I just feel like this kind of thing happens quite often in that space. But yeah, do go on. I know that they have a huge user base, and they were one of the top titles, if not still one of the top titles.
Yeah, and that's what I was also wondering. Like, is it just like a gimmick? Because I mean, is the game even that great? And I think I commented a while ago. Like, this game just looks like a game. It's not like anything that makes me want to just. I mean, how do I say? Like, when you see a trailer for a game coming out, or like a new, a game that you're a fan of, like all you want to do is play. You want to like get involved with it for like a week or 2 weeks, and you want to just binge play. I don't know about this game. There's nothing special about it besides it being DeFi.
Yeah, I think this is one of the things, and this is why you got to decide who you're marketing to. Who is the receiver of the message, right? So, crypto. Let's be honest. Crypto initially attracted tons of people with the promise of riches. Like that's where the initial hook came for a lot of people that are in crypto. Now, I'm not saying I think Cardano is very different, and I think that the tone would be very different, but still, it's a means to gain money. And so when you're trying to speak to an existing crowd that came to a space, or at least the vast majority of them came to a space with that in mind, like, hey, you could buy one Bitcoin and you can sell one Bitcoin for 700x, like you can really become rich, like that. That's where I think when you're trying to get popularity in the existing community or the existing ecosystem, a lot of the messaging is around you can make money. And that's why people get so switched on by play to earn, play to earn. Imagine you could just play this game and come out and sell your stuff and make a lot of money. And I think it's a little bit sad, because that's part of the reason why we are struggling to attract people that game. And the gaming and the entertainment industry is huge. It is massive, but it is entertainment. And when we're mixing too much DeFi into gaming, we're mixing two different things. And yeah, I mean, this is once again, I'm speaking for myself here. I game for fun, full stop. if I can game for fun and I have like a gaming addiction and I can game for fun and I can also get some kind of ROI on that time, I'll feel a lot less guilty around gaming. Like I won't, like I've played Conan Exiles. If any of you have played some of those grindy survival games, you can play for like a whole day can go by gaming that game. And then you walk away from it, you're like, I have just lost straight up 10 hours of my life. There is nothing to show for it other than bragging to another bunch of kids who are probably 12 in this game. Like, there's no reason why I did this. Like, I can't walk away from this feeling like I was any kind of productive. I didn't learn anything. I didn't, so what? I'm good at PvP. Like, who cares? Like it's the real world out here. And so I, but I had fun doing it. That's what I did get. Right, 10 hours of like pure fun, building and raiding and fighting and all that stuff is fun. If you could somehow put value behind fun, and I could walk away from that game and say, "Wow, like all that fun I did, I built this awesome castle, and hey, someone bought it from me. That's awesome. Someone appreciates it. That's
Yeah.
just better, than pixel wrapped gambling that we see so much of in the DeFi gaming crossover space. It's hard to even call it DeFi for me because I feel like it's gambling a lot of the time.
Yeah, and I think that's I'm totally on the same page with you. I mean, I played games for a long time. I hardly play nowadays 'cause I'm so busy, but yeah, I would play for fun, and I think what kind of disincentivized me as I got older. I mean, I had to put more attention into making more money. So, right, now that we're integrating, crypto and NFTs and possibly earning money right through playing games, I think that'll incentivize at least my target group to get back into gaming and like get rewarded. But at the same time, just like you said, the game has to be fun. And I was playing Ada Ninjas for the first time like last week or so when it was dropping, and I was like, oh, there's a game I want to play. So I was incentivized to buy the NFTs to play, check it out, and I actually ended up really enjoying it, and I've been wanting to play since. But making money is not what's driving me to play it. For once, like it has to be fun. And then if I make, like you said, if I make money along the way, and that's just a plus, and it kind of keeps me invested in a way, right?
Absolutely, man. I'm just going to shout out the community. I was saying Eternity Elysium Elite. I've probably bullied a community member to changing the name. I apologize. They've now said they've shortened it a bit for me, and now it's just Eternity Elite. Shout out to you for the question and the humor. Another question just came on the Discord, and it's from CD Triple C. Am I saying that right? I like saying a CD Triple C. We went through 2 weeks of saying CDCCC. I don't know why we did that. Anyway, CD Triple C says it's year 2024. It's now the bull market. What do you see and feel around Wolves of Rome? Let's think about it. And I think just extending this outside of Wolves of Rome, I want to extend this to Endmaker as well around the platform, the gaming platform, and what we're seeing from the users, because we're building through the bear. We're not the first, but we are among the first gaming projects on Cardano. And I say that with a bigger view of like what the next 10 years looks like and how fast they're popping up. We will be among that first generation. For me, what I see is, it's so funny because I mentioned the royalty thing, and everyone says immediately responds with, if you're thinking about monetizing your company on royalties, you've got another thing coming. Royalties are really low, volumes are low, and I'm like, yeah, of course. I mean, the first NFT project that launched on Cardano, there wasn't one before that, so the baseline was zero. Um, when I think about the royalty system, I'm thinking way long term for that. I'm thinking of when volumes reach numbers that actually can fund companies of royalties, and so building that in now is super important. So from a business perspective, I see a lot of if we can pull off good buying pressure, a really fun game, rewards for players in secondary market because we've built a game where cards are balanced and fair and juicy, and people enjoy playing the game and come back to the game, and user retention is high. Then I see a lot of exciting stuff there because I see that selling content to players is not the primary right now. Obviously, that's the primary monetization method, whether it's aesthetics or NFTs or card packs, whatever it is. Um, but when we're looking at what I think will eclipse that revenue stream for gaming, I really think, and I'm not being delusional. I just think that like when we don't think big enough, we don't see further enough ahead. But I see that royalty thing scales over time. You think about how many volumes and editions of cards are circulating. That starts to become uh, an important factor, and that royalty will scale over time, and the adoption of NFTs will scale over time, and so that's something exciting. And then, same question to Endmaker and what you guys are doing in gaming and what you guys are doing in general. It's 2024. It's a bull market. We're going through crazy growth. What do you see?
Well, me, like, again, speaking for myself as Victor, social media manager, not for Endmaker. Personally, what I see, and even Endmaker does, we definitely see gaming as pretty much the biggest dominating sector in NFTs and cryptocurrency. Just because the sheer number of the growing adoption of gaming as a popular sport and just hobby. There's always been kind of a stigma on gaming, as like people as lazy and or you know what I mean, those kind of negative stigmas. But it's definitely growing, and I definitely think esports will become it already is a dominant sport. Actually, I think it's the biggest. If I'm not wrong, one of the biggest sports in the world besides soccer. But it definitely has the most viewers in the world, I believe. I don't know if am I wrong about that, Wolves?
Should I don't know, but you know what? It wouldn't surprise me. It would not surprise me with just where content creation and content is going, and
Yeah.
who is consuming content the most right now. It would not surprise me.
I think it does have. I mean, someone could fact check me. But the most viewers, the most, like, honestly, some of the most money made in gaming. But yeah, like, I see it just continuing to grow, especially with the recent types of games like Fortnite and these battle royales where they're creating this whole like universes and where they have all these skins, so much monetization, a lot of collaborations within Fortnite with like huge companies and IPs like Disney. Yeah, so I definitely see this happening within our space, like the cross collaboration and stuff, on a more independent scale. But I was gonna bring up governance. I think governance and NFT is going to play a huge role in gaming, right? And that's going to be through NFTs and crypto. Because as we've seen, like, through some other games, let's say for Cyberpunk or something like that, or a game that didn't turn out to be what it was promised or it was rushed. I think governance will play a huge role in pretty much gathering the community's votes and pretty much what they don't like and do like, voting if it's ready. And I'm sure there's a lot of games that do things that players aren't happy about. So I think just pretty much creating a system where everyone has a say is going to be really important.
Absolutely. The strange thing is, most games fight their communities on things, and I never understood it. The ability to receive governance is not just giving power to the community to have a say, but it is a powerful feedback loop that you would pay for in the real world. Like, you would pay to know what your market wants, because then you can give them what they want. Like, that's the point, right? And it's just so bizarre that, like, when I mention governance to a project, and this is more in the Web 2 space, I mentioned, like, they say, so what are the benefits of they obviously know that I'm working on an NFT project, and I'm quite, it takes up a lot of my time. I reference it a lot when I'm speaking to them, and the things that they say, like, what are the benefits? And one of them I say is governance, and they're like, well, if it's blockchain governance, then we have to perform certain things, like the smart contract can actually produce that, and what if we don't want that? I'm like, but why would you not want that? Like, why would you not? I mean, don't ask a question that's going to be business breaking, but if you're asking your community what kind of content they want to see, why would you not want to know what that answer is, and why would you not want to deliver that content? Governance is beneficial on both sides, maybe even more beneficial to the creator, because a lot of the time, the biggest problem with gaming is when they get out of touch with their community. Like, if you stop playing a game, it's probably because the devs stopped understanding what was cool about the game. They went off the script. They tried some stupid stuff. For me, and I'll call it by name, I played way too much time in Conan Exiles for them to just change the entire, like, battle mechanic and meta, to the point where, like, when you drink a potion, you put away your weapon, you start walking, and you drink a potion. It takes like 3 seconds, and I'm like, yeah, I'm fighting a dragon, and now I gotta walk away while drinking a potion. Like, come on, guys, is no one testing the stuff before they put it out there? And they didn't change it, and the whole community was just going crazy, and they just dug their heels in. They were like, no, this is what we think is best, and so we're like, all right, well, now we stop playing. Was that best? Like, at the end of the day, the community always has the last vote of governance, and that's whether they're going to support the project or not. And you don't want that vote taking place. You rather want them voting at every point in the way to make the project the way they want it, or at least see the content they want. because that's going to keep them there. That's going to make them happy, and that's your goal, is to make people happy and make them enjoy their experience. So yeah, governance is a huge one for me. The potential, for that, and I think that's an exciting one that blockchain brings, and also is not tamperable as well, which is cool. I'm reading a few more questions coming up in the Discord. This is just a quote or someone talking from something they've experienced. They said whales in a Star Trek game drop between 3,000 to 5,000 USD, but it's all for nothing. I asked my friend why NFTs could at least add value for their time, and she said, "I play games for fun. I don't want another job." And I thought that was interesting, and we were kind of reacting to it with 100% and hearts, because I agree everything with what that friend is saying. I don't want a job. I don't want it to feel like a job. But at the same time, I've been in mobile games. There's a mobile game called Top War, and a lot of people left their game community to join our community when we first launched, because I was in there and I stole the players. Um, but they were like referred to as whales in the game, and basically spent the equivalent of a house or a sports car in this game, because it was such a competitive game, but the meta was so geared around pay to win, and it lured you into believing it wasn't a pay to win game. You kind of had the feeling that if you just played hard, you could do everything that a paying player could do, but you couldn't, right? They made sure that there were not enough hours in the day for the kind of thing, the kind of farming that you need to do. And eventually people started paying, and then people paid because other people were paying. Like if your opponents are beating you, they would antagonize you, then you would, and the culture was really negative in this game. But you didn't want to let people get the better of you. So then by the end of it, I watched people pay. Like I guarantee on the back end of that, there's marriages falling apart, and there's financial problems for days on the back of that game. And the game just didn't really care. They just promotion after promotion, smash it in your face, change the meta, pay to win, and you know, rinse and repeat. And I see that so much, and it's like a plague. I think there's a real dark side to the gaming world. Um, these MMOs and these mobile games, they build around an addictive gameplay, that forces a microtransaction, and that wouldn't be so bad if it meant that you actually had it when you finished that transaction. And I think because you don't, and because it's a EULA, and because they're building the meta around paying, it's really like, I'm glad that in my user acquisition and my marketing that I do in the Web2 space, I haven't had to work with a client like that. Luckily, I'm my own boss there, so I would never have to do anything. I would just turn it down. But um, the day will come when one of those guys will bite at our agency, and I will take them on in a in a, a very passionate debate around why they do what they do, because it's one of the driving forces for me in being in this project. Is like, I've seen the dark side of gaming, and gaming is supposed to be fun and bring joy to people. So that's an interesting one they've shared. And then I'm looking at another one. Yeah, someone's just saying what will drive people to to games, and what WTF is Blizzard thinking, right? I think
I,
Blizzard is a good example of falling out of touch with their community quite a lot. But yeah, Inmaker, you got something?
yeah, I was gonna say, I think what's gonna drive people who don't even play games now to play games, with NFT, and blockchain adoption is this whole integration of like multiverse or just IPs within games. Let's say you're playing Fortnite. Like, I think that's the best example. And Disney, partners with them, right? And within Fortnite, let's say you win a tournament or something, and by winning that tournament, you get an NFT that will basically give you 20% off Disneyland tickets. You know, so real world applications will definitely push the
Yeah,
gaming industry even higher, because that's going to draw people like, oh my god, if you play this game and you win the tournament, you're gonna win 20% off Disneyland, which is actually a huge discount for Disneyland, or something like that, right? Or
yeah,
tickets to a trip to Europe or something like that, right?
absolutely. I actually have a throwback to our other two guests, Rico and Nick, who both said that they played games avidly for a while, but now life has kind of like come up, right? And they're busy. Nick is working in marketing. Rico is training people, and he's trading and training people on how to do smart trading. And when you are thinking about your time in a productive sense, you can't put an ROI on the time spent in gaming. And so, it's kind of like, I would like to do it because it's fun, but I just can't really see it being worthwhile if fun is the only thing. And that might be a factor, like, and it's the same reason why you will work instead of playing a game, because you need to work occasionally, or you will do something, you'll go to gym instead of playing a game because you occasionally need to do something else. But if you could game and still have something to show for it, a lot of those people who are on the fence, wish they could game on something. Maybe they're a TCG fan and they look at a game like Wolves of Rome. Maybe they're looking at Runeterra and they go, I'd love to play it, but honestly, I know that kind of game. It's going to take a ton of my time. It's going to take 2 years. I know what I'm like. And I'm like this. I turn on games because I know I'll like it too much. And eventually I just don't get into it because I know that's too addictive for me. It's just too perfectly lined up with what I like in a game, and I'm just, I'm going to lose too much of my life to it, and I'm going to have nothing to show in 2 years. But if you can say that nothing to show is not a factor, there's a lot of people that might, hey, I'll have something to show for it as well. So, I've got some downtime on Saturday, and maybe I'll dive into this game. I'll have some fun, see if I can score myself an NFT or some coins or whatever it is, or like you say, win myself something fun. Then it becomes you're getting two things out of it. You're having fun, and you also are not necessarily trading your time for that fun. The opportunity cost isn't 4 hours of my time to have fun. It's 4 hours of my time to have fun and perhaps even be able to score something cool. And that might put a couple people who are very productive and very like ROI driven, not because they want to make money, but because they know that they're not completely losing something. And I think that's also a factor, real world utility and a little bit more reward than just pure entertainment. I think also, people are asking me about our project here, but it's not really the space for it. I'm getting a lot of messages here. I'm reading, just think of myself playing as my kids get older. Yeah, I think this is interesting. Someone's mentioning, what it'll be like when their kids are gaming, and we imagine that NFTs will be the norm. Then I think it's going to be super interesting. Sorry, I'm distracted reading the messages. There's some good conversation happening on Discord around this chat, so I'm trying to bring it in, but at the same time, I want to pause.
You brought up something interesting when you mentioned kids. I think gaming will be so big where we're going to have custodial services. Like let's say we're retiring or whatever. We want to pass along our NFTs to our kids. We'll be able to transfer our NFTs to a custodial service that will basically give our NFTs to our children, at least the ones that are valuable. Yeah, similar to a bank, right? But NFTs.
Yep, exactly. Yeah, guys. Well, we're gonna have a slightly shorter session. I think we'll leave last thoughts here and wrap up because we haven't got any co-hosts, and I think we've also had a good discussion. I think there's a couple of things that are being done that I really enjoy. I like what you guys are doing with pretty much creating a physical disc in the form of an NFT, and this is, I guess, the rollback. This is the thing I like. I was a big fan of like the golden age of gaming, the first PC games that came out, and even the next 10 years to follow, 15 years to follow on PC games. Some really good stuff came out on console in that time as well. And if you even rewind from that, tabletop games, the birthplace of gaming was tabletop and cards and marbles and things. Those were physical items. If you bought Warcraft 2, you had it on a disc, you could play it, you could give it to your friend, he could play it. If you bought Magic the Gathering cards, you could play it, you could trade it, you could sell it. I think people need to realize, and this is outside of Web3, but maybe we need to figure out our messaging better and how to make sure that we're not using terminology that is alienating or that is getting in the way of people just realizing what we're doing. We're essentially bringing back what things felt like when you were buying a game from the shop and it was yours, or when you were buying Magic cards and they were yours, or you bought a tabletop games and you've got it. Then obviously, and it's been mentioned now, EULAs came about and changed things, and we almost under our nose we thought, yeah, but for me to, as soon as microtransactions into the system, they realized they could keep selling us stuff, but that we weren't actually selling us anything. They were selling us the right to use stuff that didn't belong to us. Not even rights. I mean, we don't really. They can just change it at any time. And so, I think what we need to figure out is how do we change. And this is if we're looking at messaging. How do we change our messaging, or the tone, or the language that we're using to not be so alienating, to not have such barrier to entry, to be more accessible to Web2 gaming. And I use this analogy to close off, and I've said it before, some people might have heard this one. Imagine a world where knives have only been used to hurt people. So as far as you can remember, knives were not used as a tool or a utensil. They were used just to stab people, right? So it's terrible. Knives bad. Like the world thinks knives bad. And that's how people see, people in the web 2 see blockchain, because they only hear the worst news. They hear about the scams, they hear about the hacks. They'll read about the Solana thing and say, see, this is why I keep my money in a bank. And they don't realize like what that means, right? And so they hear all the bad stuff and they don't see the good stuff. And then someone comes out and says, hey, look, I'm using a knife to do something in the kitchen and you can get it now. Everyone is just like, no, 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 knife bad, right? We have to find a way to like rebrand the knife, so to speak. We have to look at a way to maybe even not use the term NFT, not to be misleading, but just to create value and to create fun and to create a product that people can see the concept of without stopping at the word that stops them. The thing that gets in the way. Keep the gate open, and then obviously educate them once they see the concept. But I think all of us, and us included, when we talk about mass adoption, we talk about right? Like, I don't want you to teach me things. I want enjoy. And the best products, the most successful products in the world are the ones that are seamless, intuitive, and easy to adopt. And that's where we have to, whether we like it or not, that's where we're going to have to go if we're going to see some real change and adoption. And I think NMaker, what you guys are doing to make things seamless on your platform, definitely feels that way. It's like a button, mint button, cool. Rico, you want to say something?
No, just emphasizing like what you said. What NMaker is getting done, seamlessness in the interface in any direction. When I started trading Binance on Binance in 2017, it wasn't for any other reason other than the way it worked and how seamless it was. So, I like that analogy too, redefining the knife. You're going to have me thinking today, because I think that's something that we all should address. And also from a lot of different aspects, from ROIs and, how to make it fun, how to bring people in. I own a lot of NFTs just to make sure that I don't get left out the loop of what's going to go on. So, I come with an approach where I like to let people know that this is going to be the new wave. So whether you like it or not, I'm kind of up in your face sometimes, but this is what it is. And you want to make sure that you guys do not miss out on this. But yeah, I like that. That was pretty cool.
Thanks so much, man. Appreciate that. And yeah, I mean, I guess it goes for trading as well, right? We've played the card of you can get rich, come trade. Like now it's about understanding more about decentralization and how we can make that fun and how we can make it not scary. So I think that it goes in a lot of different directions, platforms, services. We just need to stop only catering to the people that we already have, because they are early adopters and the psychology is different outside of the people that are already on the blockchain. And we have to adapt to that. We can't just keep trying the same trick. Play to earn, play to earn, play to earn. I'm like, people don't care. The people off chain, they don't care about that. It's not working, right? It's not getting people in. We just get more of the same circulation of people that are already in. I think we need to kind of figure out what they are responding to and start adapting to that. CD Triple C just says our space needs to go outside of Twitter. Yes, you're right. We do now and then dabble and jump into other spaces, but we probably need to rebrand our page before we do that and just say that we're a game and not make so much noise about the NFTs. I think right now we're starting in the pond where we can make ripples, and that is the Cardano ecosystem. We want to make sure that we're present in Cardano and we're building in Cardano, we're sharing information in Cardano, and we're learning in Cardano. But as we grow, it's not going to be blockchain, blockchain, blockchain. It's going to be game, game, game. And I think that hopefully people will get behind and understand our methodology. But that is going to be the goal for us, and we will be jumping into a lot of spaces. Just today, a bunch of our team are at like some big gaming conference in Europe, and it's not a blockchain gaming conference, it's a normal one, and someone that we're working with is actually presenting and speaking there, and there's a whole division for blockchain, and we're trying to represent and add value there as well, and we're going as a game. So that's happening right now. I'm very jealous because I don't get to be there because I'm all the way down in South Africa, but I will get my chance. I'm going to be going to CNFTCon, and I obviously come from the Web2 gaming space, so it's going to be fun for me to go to my first, blockchain convention, NFT convention, and that's also going to be fun. So I think what we can keep doing is challenging each other to make it easy. I think that's important. Anyone who works in marketing, anyone who works in trading, anyone who works with any kind of platform with user and user adoption will understand that it needs to be simple, it needs to be quick, it needs to be easy. And the language we use when we're talking to people off chain needs to change, because we can't always blame them and call them like laggards or you guys just don't get it. Yeah, they don't get it because we're using words that they won't respond to. So that's me done talking for the day. I'll let Endmaker close us off, and then I'll say goodbye. Or if there's any kind of big questions that come through, we can jump in. Endmaker, Victor, go for it.
Yeah, I'm just gonna chime in on the topic of language and what we're using to identify NFTs. I talked briefly with Sean from Jira Wallet. We met at Expoverse. We had a little chat there. Also met the guys from Charlie as well. So they're also working on something pretty cool. NFTs as collectibles. If you look in their wallet, and we're kind of talking a little bit. Okay, what's the best term to like kind of gain more adoption and just yeah, I guess that's what we still landed on. Like we tried it, we named a few things and we kind of circled back to collectibles again. I'm not sure if that's going to be the long-term thing because everything's always evolving, but I think that's pretty good. I don't know what you guys think.
Absolutely, man. I like the word collectibles. Also, whenever someone like, say, my aunt, says, "What's an NFT?" and I'm like, "It's a non-fungible token." She's like, "I don't want to know what that is." Honestly, fungible? I don't even know what does that word mean. Like, I don't care. And, so it's like, it's weird, but it's like we are gonna have to evolve. We're gonna have to adapt if we're gonna grow outside of our current boundary that we kind of are saturated in. And I'm excited for what that is going to look like. But I think it's going to happen to the people that are willing to adapt and willing to change how they approach. Obviously, there's a lot of people that are in the inside of those concentric circles, servicing people that are in the space, and those people need to be where they are. You can't all focus on being a bridge to the ecosystem. Some of you have to do the complex tech stack stuff and DeFi development and smart contracts. Like that stuff has to exist, but right now that stuff is very much at the front of, if you come into Cardano, that's very much on the surface. It's like some of the first stuff you hear about. You hear NFTs, and then you hear a lot of utility, and then you get a lot of DeFi. In the Web2 world, we're not understanding what security software is functioning with an electronic bank transfer. Like we just I put in the money here, it comes out there, I feel good, that's what I want. So yeah, we'll have to pick it up in the next episode. I think next episode we're probably doing a more chilled space and doing a kind of open mic, having fun, talking to gamers' favorite games. But I love this conversation, and I'm glad I remembered to record it, because I'm gonna use this conversation to pick up next time, and hopefully we'll have you guys joining, because this has been really good content to think about. And as I've been talking to you guys, I've got some stuff to digest and think about as well, which is really good. And challenge us internally to kind of focus on, because we are focusing on being kind of one of those bridge projects from outside of the blockchain to inside. So it's quite an undertaking, and yeah, we'll just keep challenging each other to do a good job there. Thank you so much for joining. Thank you, Nick, for joining from a marketing perspective. Rico, a content creator and trading guy. Let's chat, please. Like I apologize. Leading up to Mint, I just kind of stopped getting back to people. It's really bad, but it was just craziness, as you can imagine. In both, the Cardano ecosystem as far as minting goes, and then gaming as well. It's just massive, man. Such an exciting company to be working with. And yeah, big shout out to everyone. Thanks so much. Thanks for joining. And we'll see you next week, Wednesday, for another gaming space. Cheers, guys.